Hello students, I am Professor Supriya Kulkarni. Today we are going to learn cursors in the relational database management system. Firstly, we will discuss about what is cursor. A cursor is a temporary work area created in the system memory. When a SQL statement is executed, a cursor contains information on a select statement and the rows of data accessed by it. This temporary work area is used to store the data retrieved from the database and manipulate this data. A cursor can hold more than one row but can process only one row at a time. The set of rows the cursor holds is called the active set. There are two types of cursor in PLSQL: implicit cursor and explicit cursor. Both implicit and explicit cursor have the same functionality, but they differ in the way they are accessed. Firstly, we will discuss cursor attributes. Name of attributes and description of attribute. First is %found. Returns true if record was fetched successfully, otherwise false. Second is %not found. Returns true if record was not fetched successfully, otherwise false. Third is row count. Returns number of records fetched from cursor at the point in the times. And last is ISO open. ISO open returns the true if cursor is open, otherwise false. Now we will discuss about implicit cursor. These are created by default when DML statement like insert, update and delete statement are executed. They are also created when a select statement that returns just one row is executed. When you execute DML statement like delete, insert, update and select statement, implicit statements are created to process these statements. Oracle provides few attributes called as implicit cursor attributes to check the status of DML operations. The cursor attribute available are %found, not found, row count and is open. For example, when you execute insert, update and delete statement, the cursor attribute tells us whether any rows are affected and how many have been affected. When a select into statement is executed in PLSQL block, implicit cursor attributes can be used to find out whether any row has been returned by a select statement. PLSQL return an error when no data is selected. Consider the PLSQL stock that uses implicit cursor attribute as shown below. Example is declare EID number size is 3, begin update employee, set EID is equal to %EID. That means employee ID is stored in the EID variable, where salary is equal to %salary. Salary is stored in the salary variable and EID is equal to SQL plus row count. If %found, then DBMS output is a success, otherwise DBMS output is not. And end if and DBMS output line is row count, EID and end. Our output is, while we run SQL command line, then you can start c.sql and our output is successful because our condition is true. PLSQL procedure is successfully completed. Now we will discuss about explicit cursor. They must be created when you are executing a select statement that returns more than one row. Even though the cursor stores multiple records, only one record can be processed at the time, which is called as a current row. When you fetch a row, the current row position moves to the next row. An implicit cursor is defined in the declaration section of PLSQL block. It is created on a select statement which returns more than one row. We can provide a suitable name for the cursor. Syntax is cursor name is select statement, cursor name a suitable name for the cursor, and select statement is a select query for return multiple rows. How to use explicit cursor? There are four steps in use explicit cursor. First step is declare the cursor in the declaration section. Second step is open the cursor in the executable section, and third is fetch the data from cursor into PLSQL variable or a record in execution. And last is fourth is close the cursor in the execution section before you end the PLSQL block, declaring a cursor in the declaration section. Syntax is cursor name is select, and last is semicolon. How to access an implicit cursor? These are the 3 steps in the accessing cursor. Open the cursor. Syntax is open cursor name. fetch the record in the cursor one at a time. Next is fetch cursor name into record name, or fetch cursor name into variable list. Next is syntax to close a cursor. Close cursor and its name, and last we can give semicolon. When a cursor is open, the first row becomes a current row. When the data is fetched, it is copied to the record or variable, and the logical pointer moves to the next row and it becomes the current row. On the every fetch statement, the pointer moves to the next row. If you want to fetch after the last row, the program will throw an error. When there is more than one row in a cursor, we can use the loops along with explicit cursor attribute to fetch all the records. Points to remember while fetching a row: we can fetch the row in the cursor to PLSQL record or list for a variable created in the PLSQL block. If you are fetching a cursor to PLSQL record, the record should have same structure as the cursor. Next, if you are fetching a cursor to the list of variables, the variables should be listed in the same order in the fetch statement as the columns are present in the cursor. Now, general form of using a explicit cursor is syntax: declare variables, records, create a cursor. Now we can use begin keyword. Next, open cursor, fetch cursor, process to the records, and close cursor. And last section is end. Example is declare cursor is select EID name from EMP, order by name, ID emp.eid by percent type, ename employee.name, percent type. Now begin cursor, open ER loop, fetch into ID comma ename, exit when ER percent not found, DBMS output, put line is ID or ename, end loop, close ER and end the cursor. Now we can see the output. Run SQL command line. There is Parimal and Preet. There are 2 records are found and our procedure is successfully completed. Cursor for loop. Oracle provide another loop statement to control loops, especially for cursors. This statement is a variation of the basic for loop and it is known as a cursor for loops. Syntax: for variable in cursor name, loop, executable commands, and end loop. This is the syntax of for loop. Next is parameterized cursor. Oracle allow to pass parameter to cursor that can be used to provide condition with the where clause. Parameters are passed to the cursor. That cursor is called as a parameterized cursor. Syntax is cursor name into bracket variable data type, variable name data type is select, and parameters can be passed to cursor while opening it using syntax. Syntax is open cursor, value or variable or expression. Thank you students for watching my video.